In this demo, I'm going to show you how to add verbs to Lantern. There's a fairly substantial list of verbs built in. This should cover most cases, but you may, it's highly likely you will have to add your own at some point, and you can just do that here. You can add a new verb and click Add. Now, if you want to have like a verb that has a synonym, you can put the verb and its synonym in here separated by a comma, and those two verbs are now basically the same thing. So let's go look at our situation here. I've got a room 1, and I have a tree that is in room 1 and a radio that is in room 1. So if I listen to my, if I run my project here, I'll call this thing verb test. There we go. And launch the player. I'm at the end of a dirt road. There's a tree here. There's a radio here. Now if I type listen to the radio, it says, I don't know the verb listen to. Okay, no problem. Let's add it. So I'm going to go to verbs, and I'm going to add listen to as a verb. So now listen to is in my list of user verbs there. And now if I run my project and I try to listen to the radio, it's going to say, I don't follow you, but at least it recognized the verb listen to. It doesn't know what we're trying to do. So now that we've added this verb, let's go look at some other stuff here. Now, when you add a new verb, you can put constraints on how that verb gets used. So let's go to verb checks here, and I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to find listen to, and I'm going to say that you have to, when you listen, you have to listen to something. You have to supply at least one noun. So you have to say listen to the radio, listen to the listen to me or something, or listen to the speaker. And then let's also say that you have to see the thing that you're trying to listen to. So I'm going to say that you have to supply at least one noun, and you have to be able to see that thing. So now, if I save this and I run this, and I type, listen to, it says missing noun, right? So listen to off screen, right? Off screen is an object in the game. You don't see that here. So you have to see the thing that you're listening to. So let's now let's go add some functions here. So we've got a radio and we've got a tree. So let's write some functions. So I'm going to write a function called listen to radio, and I'm going to click add, and in the function, in the code here, I'm going to just print a line. PR tab expands to print line. You hear, soothing music coming across the airwaves or something. Airwaves. Is that how you spell airwaves? Is it one word, two words? I don't know. All right. So now I have a function called listen to radio. Now, what if I wanted to listen to anything else? Listen. So when you add a verb, it's probably because you want to apply that verb to a specific object. But once you give the player a verb, they can use that verb on anything, and you probably want to create a default case for it. So I'm going to make a function called listen to anything. And I'm going to click add. And in the code for this function, I'm going to print another message. I'm going to say PR tab expands to print line. You hear nothing unexpected, period. There we go. All right, so now I have those two functions. Now, how do these functions get called, right? Well, I have to wire them up to a sentence. So let's go to sentences here, and I'm going to say if the verb is listen to and the noun is radio, then I want to call my listen to radio function. So I'm going to click, let's save that. Listen to radio. All right. So now we can listen to the radio. What if we try to listen to the tree? It says, I don't follow you. So let's go back to our sentences tab here. And instead of listening to something specific, I want to say listen to anything. So the star means anything. It means it means it's a pattern match, right? So if I listen to something, it doesn't matter what it is, then I want to call my listen to anything function. So the way lantern works is it tries to find an exact match for your sentence, and if it can, it will call that function. Then it tries to find one of these pattern matches, and if it can find a pattern match, it will call that, and if it doesn't, then it prints. If it can't find that, then it says, I don't follow you. So now I've created kind of a specific case for listening to the radio, and I've created like a backstop case or a catch-all case to handle listening to anything else. So now if I type listen to the tree, it says you hear nothing unexpected. Like why would you? So that's so when you add a verb, you probably want to add a verb check, some checks to see to put constraints on how that verb gets used, and then you want to create specific functions for using that verb on certain objects, and you want to create a default case for using that verb on things where it doesn't maybe make sense to use that verb. Just so the player doesn't constantly get, I don't follow you, I don't follow you. Now, finally, let's do, just to be funny here, I'm going to make a function, listen to me, and I'm going to click add, and I'm going to, for my code here, I'm going to print a line of text, PR, tab, tab, no, you listen to me. All right, save. So let's go back to our sentences, and I'm going to say when the verb is listened to, and the first object is the player, then I want to call my listen to me function instead. And if we go to our objects, you'll see here that me and self are synonyms for the player. So you can say examine me, examine self, right? And now if I run this and I type, listen to the tree, this is going to call our listen to our default case, listen to radio. This is going to call our specific case, and then we have listen to me. No, you listen to me. All right, there we go. So there's an example of how to add a verb to your game. Just be aware that when you add a verb, you need to put constraints on it, or you should put constraints on it. And you want to create specific functions for applying that verb to specific objects or specific situations. But you also want to create a backstop case for when the player tries to use that verb on anything else. And then once you add a verb to your project, you probably want to think about all the other ways that verb might get used in a way that you didn't expect. So so like an example from one of the games I wrote was like, if you can pick a lock and you've given the player the verb pick, like somebody's going to try to pick their nose, like they just are. So maybe you want to handle that, maybe you don't, maybe it's not worth the extra space in your game or the extra work, but you have to think about, once you've given the player that verb, how they might use that verb in ways that you didn't expect. And that shakes out with play testing. So, give your game to people, let them play it, and then ask them what they tried that they thought should have been handled but didn't get handled. So there you go. There's how to add verbs to Lantern.